and welcome to my podcast, Ra in Wonderland. I'm so happy you're here with me today. And today, I want to tell you a story about a doctor, a philosopher, and a woman who is almost not there. And through this story, we're going to explore something very human, why we sometimes fall in love not with a person but with an idea. Today's episode is inspired by the book When Nietzsche Wept, written by Irving Yalom. And yes, there will be spoilers. But more importantly, there will be questions that might stay with you long after this episode ends. Now, let's go to Vienna, a time when psychology doesn't really exist yet. We meet a man named Joseph Breuer. He is a respected doctor. He has a family, a stable life. From the outside, everything looks fine, but inside, something feels missing, something quiet, something unnamed. And then, one day, a woman comes to him, Lo Salome. She tells him about a man who is suffering deeply, a man who refuses help. That man is Friedrich Nietzsche. Then Breuer meets Nietzsche. And then what begins as an attempt to treat Nietzsche slowly becomes something else, something unexpected. Because Nietzsche does not behave like a patient. He questions, he observes, he pushes, and eventually he turns the entire situation upside down. At some point, something changes, and suddenly it is no longer clear who is helping whom, because Breuer, the doctor, is not as stable as he seems. There is a woman in his life, Bertha. He thinks about her constantly. He feels drawn to her, almost consumed. He believes this is love. But then comes the disruption. Nietzsche looks at him and says something that changes everything. Not directly, not gently, but unmistakably. He makes Breuer face a possibility. What if this is not love? What if Bertha is not really the center of this story? What if this entire emotional intensity is coming from somewhere inside you? And this is where the story becomes deeply psychological, because Breuer starts to see maybe Bertha is not just a person, maybe she is a space where he can feel something intense, escape his ordinary life, avoid asking difficult questions about himself. She becomes a refuge, but also a trap. And then we notice something strange. As we listen to this story, we start to realize something. We don't really know Bertha. We don't hear her voice clearly. We don't see her fully. She is distant, almost like a shadow. And then we notice something else. Salome is also like that. And suddenly a pattern appears. Breuer and Bertha, Nietzsche and Salome, two men, two women. But the women are not fully present. They are not active characters. They are reflections. And this is the moment where the book quietly shifts its meaning. Maybe this is not a story about relationships. Maybe this is a story about the mind, about how we can create an emotional reality that feels completely real, even when the other person is barely there. So, the question becomes, have you ever felt something so intense for someone that it almost didn't matter who they really were? Have you ever been attached not to a person but to what they represented? Because sometimes we don't fall in love with a person. We fall in love with an escape, a possibility, a different version of ourselves, and the other person becomes the carrier of that feeling. Maybe this story is not about Nietzsche. Maybe it's about something much more familiar. The quiet ways we try to avoid ourselves, the stories we build, so we don't have to face what is missing. And maybe healing doesn't begin when we let go of someone. Maybe it begins when we ask, what was I trying not to feel? So, dear Wonderlanders, until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and gently question the stories your heart holds onto. Bye, guys!